Alright guys, so before I show you the demo, I'm going to have to show you the code that I'm going to run on. So we have Pico W here, and here we have the libraries, the buttons defined along with the potentiometer LED, and connected is set to false. Then we have these lines of code which are used to display the MAC address of the Pico. We have our UUIDs for service, write and read characteristics. Then we have our various variables for IM, the message, the Bluetooth parameters, and this is an optional variable. You really don't need it. You can just delete it if you want. Then we have our encode message and decode message functions, which we're going to need. Then we have our blink LED task function, which blinks the LED when it's connected. Then we have our send data task function, which sends data to the Pi. So the button will be at 1 when for example, the backward button is pressed here, and if it's released, it'll set to 0. And of course, we send the value of the potentiometer equal to PWM value. Then we have our long message string here. Then we have our try and accept handles here. So we have our message, and then we write to the message. We have a small delay. Then of course we create an error when there's no connection, for example. Then we have our peripheral mode function, where we have our service, our two characteristics. We register a service, and then we connect to the device. Then we have our tasks, and then we gather the tasks, and we send connected to false, and then we disconnect when we're done. And then we run the function. For the Pi, it's actually pretty similar to what we've done before. We have our libraries, then we have our variables. For connected, the two PWM functions, well, the two PWM values, the LED and the robot. Then we have our MAC address. You can change this to the one you use. Then we have our UUIDs as before, except we use hex codes just like we've done with the Pico before. And then of course we have our receive data task. So we have our response. We print the response just to make sure it works. Then we have our various button states, which we set to as integers, because we created the values here, and we set those equal to the response, and then we split it, of course, as a comma, using a comma and as a long string. Then we have our PWM value, which we set it as a float. Then we both set the same PWM value to these two variables here. And then we have our if, elif, else statements, where the robot will move depending on the direction, depending on which button is pressed. And it'll stop when no button is pressed. And then we have a small delay. And then we have our exception. Same blink task as before, just using a different LED. But this time we have a connect and communicate as we've done before. We have our bleak client here, so we connected to it. Then we have our tasks, and then we gather tasks. And then we have our loop here, where we get the event loop, and then we run the function. But we need to reference the Pico address for this to work. So that's all we really need for this. So I will get back to the demo, and I'll see you then. Alright guys, so here I am with the demo, and as you can see, it's now connected. So I'll show you quickly, and you can see, it's working fine. See? It is working perfectly, just to show you. See? No issues here. So this is the most successful demo I've ever had. So thanks to everyone who has subscribed to my channel. And just one more quick spin. So thanks to everyone who has subscribed to my channel. And thanks to everyone who has followed me through this arduous journey. So that's it for this demo, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.